Hi, I'm Tatum and welcome to Mini Stories, the show where I make minis tell stories, make stories into minis, or just paint minis and tell stories. In this video, I'll be taking a break from writing original stories to make a diorama around Silent Hill 2. Just in case there will be some minor spoilers, I will be focusing on the first fight against Pyramid Head and will narrate one document found later in the game, but won't directly spoil anything from James's journey through Silent Hill. I've wanted to work on game-based dioramas for a while. Not only do I love playing, but I also really enjoy reading the many scattered documents you can find in games such as Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Alien Isolation and more. For this project, I started with some XPS foam. I used a foam cutter to get an irregular rectangle shape, which will act as the base for my diorama. I thought of adding walls but decided against it since I wanted to challenge myself to work on a small terrain piece filled with details. I printed Pyramid Head and James Sunderland in two different sizes to see which would be better for the diorama. The idea is to have them both facing each other in the room where the first fight against Pyramid Head takes place. In the end, I chose the bigger prints, picking the model of James with the wooden plank instead of the one with the handgun. I think it mirrors Pyramid Head and his giant blade really nicely, both even having a similar pose. Like I mentioned before, I want to focus on adding tons of details to the base, and the first step will be cages. I spent a while looking at cage models to 3D print, but in the end I decided to grab an old electric fly swatter, using one of the mesh layers in it to craft a few cages myself. The process was both simple and extremely frustrating, as well as a bit painful. The mesh was easy enough to cut with scissors and shape with my bare hands, although the sharp ends prickled my fingers more than a few times. I cut some plastic bits to create the rims of the cage as well as the flat top and bottom. This was the frustrating part. Glue does not work well with metal and smooth plastic, causing the bits to fall off over and over again. After fighting with the smaller cage, I decided to grab a thin thread and tie the ends of the bigger one together so it would keep the shape while I glued the plastic rims. This was fairly helpful, but still getting all the pieces to stick together was hard. The good thing is my clumsy crafting efforts might fit in well with Silent Hill's distorted world. The bad thing is, well, I should have taken measures. This was maybe too clumsy. Lesson learned. I decided to add more variety by creating an irregular broken tube with the mesh, as well as some extra bits to add to the terrain. That way, I also saved myself from the effort of making more of those flimsy cages. But this is not all we are doing. I broke a lollipop stick with my hands to create irregular wooden bits, gluing a few of them to the center of the seam following the references I had from the game. Once everything was in place, I used PVA and superglue to create a distorted, rotten texture on the ground on Pyramid Head's side. I remember something like that happening in the Silent Hill movie where it looked like he was slowly transforming the world as he advanced. Finally, it was time to add sand. I used superglue to add it at random places, adding more texture and covering up some of my crafting mistakes. For the final detail, at least until this is painted, I used dry baby wipes to create the shape of a body covered with a blanket, as well as another blanket on top of the cages. And with everything ready, it's time to paint this diorama and time for Narrator Tatum to… well, I don't have an original story today. Instead, I'll be adapting and reading a note found in the hospital section of the game. If you consider this a spoiler and want to avoid it, I'll make sure to leave timestamps in the description so you can go straight to the reveal. It has been weeks since I started my studies on the subject. The patient doesn't seem to show any improvement or reaction to our treatment whatsoever. From the very few bits of information I've gathered from his absent-minded rambling, it seems the world around him is just as firm within his mind as it was when he arrived here. The potential for this illness exists in all people, I believe, and under the right circumstances, any man or woman would be driven like him to the other side. Although the other side perhaps may not be the best way to phrase it. After all, there is no wall between here and there. The division lies solely on the borders where reality and unreality intersect. It is a place both close and distant. Some of my colleagues say this isn't even an illness, at least not one we can treat ourselves. I cannot agree with them. I'm a doctor, not a philosopher or even a psychiatrist. And while the others might insist that this is a purely mental or even spiritual affliction, the absolute failure of the so-called experts to bring this man back to reality, back to our reality, only reinforces my belief. There has to be another cause, something we simply have not yet discovered. I am reading new treatments, some others would call experimental or even unethical. The truth is, we are running out of options. If we truly wish to cure the patient and discover an effective treatment for any others suffering the same fate, then ethics shall have to be removed from the equation. But sometimes I see myself forced to stop and ponder, to ask myself this question. It is true that to us his imaginings are nothing but the inventions of a busy mind, but to him there simply is no other reality. Furthermore, he is happy there. So why, I ask myself, why in the name of healing him must we drag him painfully into the world of our own reality? Thank you so much for watching. I've wanted to work on a game related diorama for a while, but I didn't want to create an original story based on them, but rather narrate something from the games themselves, so this was quite a challenge. If you liked this video, let me know by leaving a like and comment below if you'd like to see more games turned into dioramas in the future. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe for more, it really helps the channel grow. I'll be back next month with more minis to paint and more stories to tell. Take care and thanks for watching.